1. Because pride is still protest. Through all that fey, rainbow fluttering, there is still a fight. Think of every outraged, spluttering clickbait crawler, every big brave comment left on Devon Live, every slur, every being who cannot simply be, every person who we've lost, and every person left alive. And yes, we have rights. Lots of wonderful, hard-won rights, but when still some of ours are stripped of even the most basic human rights, like the ones that permit them to exist, there's still a couple of fights to be fought, a couple that we missed. There's still a reason why we march in May. And it is a march, by the way.
First one. I was a DJ on the LGBT scene and ran a sort of gay night at Exeter Quay in a club called Boxes. I just finished DJing for about 200 LGBT people. It was a good night. And then the next day I'm listening to Radio Devon, and the Bishop of Exeter said on the radio that he wouldn't support some LGBT legislation in the House of Lords because there were no gay people in Exeter. And I was really shocked, cancelling us out as if there's none of us around. So I thought, what can we do? What can we do to show that there are LGBT people in the community and we're part of the community?
It was a year before the Equality Act came in, so it was a very different time to what it is now. Being out and proud had a very different sort of feel to it. It felt, in some ways dangerous. I was born a year before Stonewall riots, so, there weren't role models. There definitely weren't any trans or non-binary role models at that time.
I went to Intercom, which is the Southwest LGBT charity, and spoke with Michael Halls, and I really wanted a parade down through the street like some of the other cities had had, like a Pride March, but we couldn't do that in those first few years. So we just held an event at Exeter Phoenix and at Exeter Central Library. We had a speaker from LGBT History Month, did a panel discussion. We had various stalls. It wasn't very big, not like Pride has grown into now, but it was good, and we made a statement that we were there.
Exeter Pride from the start it's almost like carried me. I was an out lesbian at the time, but it's sort of seen me through my gender transition to being the trans man that I am now.
Saturday the 12th of May and the city of Exeter is covered in rainbows. I'm Jamie.
I'm Nia, and this is Exeter Pride 2018.
What they did back then at the Stonewall riots, a bit like with the suffragettes with getting the women to vote, they pioneered us to be able to not be repressed and to actually come out and do what we want to do.
2, because it's fun. And this is an important one because, let's face it, there are so many reasons why straight, cis pride is not a thing, but ultimately it would be shit. We, not me necessarily, but we know how to throw a party. And why shouldn't marching look like this? Look like dancing, twirling, twerking, floating. For that one day in May when we march, we float. Because the feeling is float-worthy. Because it's freeing to get camp and exuberant and so joyously stupid to splash the streets in colour. And yes, we know that this is more than just a place to spend our pink pounds on pints and pin badges and flags, but sometimes we like pints and pin badges and flags.
My first Exeter Pride was actually last year, so 2022. I had kind of resigned myself to just thinking that, a lot of the events I would go to would be fun regardless, but like much smaller affairs. And seeing this massive parade and just how many people were in the crowd and in the parade and all of the stalls and everything, and it was just really it blew my mind. I saw another fellow individual who also had visible top surgery scars, and that was one of my first times being out in public with my top surgery scars on show.
Trans, even say 20 to 30 years ago, you would have probably been beaten up in the street, or you'd have had probably regular comments about every maybe 5 to 10 minutes. If you'd have said to someone 50 years ago it'd be how it was now, I don't think they'll probably believe you, to be honest.
Seeing lots of happy smiley faces and lots of different kinds of people, like different aesthetics and different shapes and sizes.
I remember really clearly going to the march for the first time, and it was like the first time that I'd actually kind of had that level of visibility that I think in any other context would have made me feel vulnerable, but within the context of it being like so many other people at the same time, it was a way of being visible that felt safe.
I just really love seeing everybody be themselves. I think it's such an incredible experience, and I'm just so happy to be able to share this with my friends.
When I got to see the parade and the march and be in it as well, that was just, it felt like all of a sudden the city you lived in for so long, and it all just grinded to a halt.
And besides, 3. It's basically tradition. And don't you people love tradition? 4, because we can. 5, because of the reason that you even have to ask the question. 6, because we're seen. For everyone who needs to see. And everybody does. There is the immediacy of something so bright and loud and holy, high street swallowing, that you can't help but see. And then there's the reminder that we are here, have always been, will always be. But more importantly, 7, we see each other. In broad, gay light, through a sea of rainbow fluttering, we see. Our bodies grow gargantuan, expand to fill the town. We look each other up and down, top to bottom, wholly visible, top scars and war wounds and big, beaming grins. Eyes that recognize each other's. Eyes feasting on soft familiarity. Eyes wide, just taking it all in.
It is very much a protest, even though it can appear to be a celebration, and in a lot of ways it is. We march for everyone that can't, and I don't think it should be lost that even though I'm the G in LGBT, we are all allies to those other letters.
The need for political activism is much more pressing for trans people. We're fighting on a policy level, and we have barriers that didn't exist for other groups. We have medical considerations to bear in mind.
A march is the biggest stage you will get on any Pride Day. You hold up a sign on a stage at a Pride festival, a bunch of people who probably already agree with you are going to see it. You have signs or chanting things or whatever, you have a message at a march, that's publicly visible.
This is our family, our huge, expansive, not always totally uniform family. This is our holiday, Christmas, Thanksgiving, all rolled into one. We bathe in the sight of each other, and it's nice for them. Don't get me wrong, our hearts are big enough to let them in, but this is ours. This is for us, our bright beacon, our lighthouse of acceptance, our big, gay Disneyland, and the size of us surprises us. The sweeping sea of us, and Not to sound like a size queen, but the size is exciting. The sheer scale of us, being here, our pride can grind the whole city to a halt, so that we spill out of our separate pockets or the last remaining corner of some sticky, sickly vault to pour, sweet, visible, gloriously pour onto our streets where our bodies and hearts and feet meet, and we see each other. Through that sea of rainbow fluttering, we see.
We're providing voices for the people who don't have a voice or want to have a voice but have no one to speak it to.
It's meant to be like a beacon or a lighthouse of acceptance, love.
I really want a day where Pride doesn't have to exist anymore. And when that happens, it will be a celebration as opposed to a protest march.